401ks are confusing, so you shouldn't feel any shame about not knowing what the heck they are and how to use them. You're not a dummy, not on my watch, that's not a thing. Today, I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna give you just the basic primer on what a 401k is, how you invest in a 401k, whether or not you need one. We're gonna answer all of these questions in this video. So make sure you watch it till the end. I'm Melissa Ford. Welcome to Damsel of Success, where we talk about all things money. Please be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell to be notified every time I post a new video. So like I said, today we're going to be talking about the 401k. It is confusing. Let's just acknowledge right up front that it is confusing. So no shame if you're beginning in your investing career and you don't understand what a 401k is. I am here for you, ready to answer your questions, so let's get right into it. I did just say let's get right into it, but I have a little bit of a disclaimer first. And that is that I am not a licensed anything. I'm not a licensed financial planner or investor. I don't have any of the licenses. I'm sharing with you today my personal experience and what I have been doing for myself, ways that have been successful for me. So hopefully that's helpful to you. But always, always, always with any financial advice, make sure you're doing your research because you need to make the decisions that are right for you. And my situation is probably way different than your situation. So do your research, do your due diligence, and make sure that whatever actions you decide to take around your 401k are the right ones for you personally. So now let's get right into it for real. What the fudge sickle is a 401k? Well, in its most basic form, a 401k is just a savings account that you can use to help you prepare for retirement. So if it's just a savings account, then what makes it so special? Well, it's, like an upgraded savings account. A 401k is a tax-advantaged account, which in this case means that all the contributions that you make to it are done pre-tax. So you can deduct them from your income when you go to file your taxes. So anything that you put into your 401k account, you don't get taxed on right away, which is a really nice benefit. And it's actually a benefit that works for you and works for the government, because once your 401k gets you to baller level, well, the government will tax you on it when you withdraw the money. So they're getting a little bit of a benefit, but in terms of investing right now, it's a great advantage. The other really cool thing about a 401k is that a lot of times your employer will offer a match, meaning that they're putting money into your 401k when you're putting money into your 401k. And you guys, that's free money. That's part of your compensation package as an employee. If your employer offers it, I'm not allowed to give you advice, but I will say that I would never myself not contribute at least up to the match, getting the maximum match from my employer. Because like I said, free money is awesome. Let's get all of it that we can, right? So let's go a little bit deeper into how that matching works, because it can get a little bit confusing. They like to use all this weird language around it. So for instance, one of my employers had the terms that they would match 50% of my first 5% contribution. So what that means is that if I contribute 5% of my paycheck to my 401k, then they're going to match 50% of that, which is essentially 2.5% of my salary, right? So automatic raise, number one. Number two, they do it that way to kind of incentivize you to invest as much as possible. So let me give you an example of what that would look like, that 50% of the first 5%. It could be any number, but you'll get the idea of how this works. So essentially that means that if 5% of my salary is $5,000 and I contribute that to my 401k, then my employer will contribute $2,500. Does that make sense? Good. So I'm going to put a chart up here that shows you the different kinds of language that you might find your employer use to tell you about the match that they provide. And as you can see from this example, all of the numbers in terms of what you have to contribute are identical, but what your employer matches is a little bit different. So if your employer offers a 5% match and you contribute $5,000, then they will also contribute $5,000 because they're saying they'll contribute 100% of your first 5%. We already went through this example of contributing 50% of the first 5%, which essentially boils down to them contributing 2.5% of your salary into your 401k, which boils down to them contributing $2,500 when you contribute $5,000. They might also list a limit to how much they will match. So in this next example, they're saying they would match 100% of the first 10% up to $5,000. So again, let's say that I'm making $100,000 a year, and so 5% of my contribution is $5,000. 10% of my contribution would be $10,000. But my employer is capping the amount that they're willing to contribute to my 401k. They're only willing to contribute up to $5,000. So in order to get the maximum match from my employer, all I have to contribute under those terms is $5,000. And they will then contribute another $5,000 to the account. Now let's make it the most complicated match situation, and that is when they have all the conditions listed. So let's say that your employer says that they're going to contribute 50% of the first 5% up to a limit of $5,000. If my income is $100,000 and I contribute $5,000, then that makes me eligible to receive the full match from the company. The company in that situation would give me $2,500, and I'm not actually able to get the maximum amount of their match because I don't make enough money yet. So in order to get that $5,000 match that they're maxing out at, I would actually have to make $200,000 and contribute 5% of that. So hopefully that helps you kind of decipher some of the information that your employer might provide about what their match looks like. It can get a little confusing, so if you have any questions about it at all, just put a comment in the comments below. So the government is giving you this awesome benefit of not having to pay taxes on the amount that you contribute into your 401k. And because of that, they place some limitations on this account as well. So let's go through what those are. First of all, there's a limit to how much you can contribute. If you're under the age of 50, that limit for this year is $19,500. If you're over the age of 50, you're allowed to contribute $6,500 more. They consider that a catch-up contribution. So it's, meant for people who are trying to really load as much money as they can into their retirement in the years that are really close to leading up to their retirement. The next and really biggest limitation on this account that you need to be aware of is that you're not allowed to withdraw the funds until your retirement age, until the legal retirement age. And the current legal retirement age is 66 and 2 months for anyone born before 1960 and age 67 for anyone born after 1960. So you have to be that age before you're allowed to withdraw money from that account without penalty. So when you're contributing to this account, you have to make sure it's money you don't plan to touch, you don't plan to access, you do not need to use this money, right? This should be like just put it out of your mind, don't withdraw it. Because if you do withdraw it, there can be some major penalties involved. And like I said before, you don't have to pay taxes on the money now, but you will pay taxes on the money eventually. And you're gonna pay taxes on how that balance grows over time. So it's probably gonna be a larger tax bill than you might have gotten before. But you don't have to pay a penny of those taxes until the time you withdraw. So why do you need a 401k? Well, you don't, kinda. Trick answer. You do need to save for retirement, and there are a lot of ways that you can do that. But the 401k doesn't necessarily have to be one of them. You have a lot of decisions that you need to make based on your situation about which is right for you. Now, personally, I think it would be silly to not take advantage of any free money that your employer is offering you. So at the bare minimum, I always plan to contribute up to at least getting the maximum match from my employer. After that, though, it's kind of up to you and your situation to figure out what's best for you. And those kinds of questions, if you're a beginner investor, you don't really need to delve into quite yet. If you're at the point where what you can figure out today and what you have time to learn today is the 401k, then invest in your 401k. That's awesome. You are making progress towards having enough saved for retirement. But there are other strategies that exist, ways to optimize your retirement portfolio to make sure that you're squeezing every penny out of, the money that you're investing. But if you take one lesson away from this, it's much better just to invest, get started, than to worry about, making all those tweaks so that it's absolutely perfect. You are statistically more likely to make money by starting earlier. And so that's the biggest advantage you can give yourself, is to start as soon as possible. So don't waste time digging deep and figuring out the perfect investment strategy. Just get started. So I'm telling you to get started. Well, how do you get started? It's actually not super complicated. All you have to do is reach out to your employer, to their human resources department. They're going to have information about how to get signed up for the program. Unlike some other benefits, this is one that you're typically able to enroll in at any time throughout the year. It's not like, getting health insurance where you can only sign up over a 2-week period or whatever. It's not like that. This is a benefit that you can typically, like I said, enroll in at any time. So just pause this video, call HR, get signed up, then come back and we'll figure out how to optimize it a little bit more. One of the most common questions that people have is how much they should be investing. The answer is very simple. Contribute as much as possible and do it as early as possible, because the longer your money is invested, the higher your balance is going to be and the less you'll have to contribute to reach the same amount. That's because of compounding interest. We're not going to delve too deep into that today, but just know that the takeaway here is that you want to contribute as much as possible, as early as possible, into your retirement investment accounts. Like I said before, it doesn't necessarily have to be a 401k, but if that's an option to you and that's the one that you know about right now, just go for it. The long answer is that it depends. And it depends on a lot of factors that are personal to you. Like, when do you want to retire? Are you looking to retire at the standard retirement age? Are you trying to retire early? What standard of living do you want in your retirement? What percentage of your income can you afford to contribute? There are a ton of different factors, and to make this process a little bit easier, to simplify it, I put together something called a retirement calculator, and it'll allow you to, enter all your personal factors and to tweak things and make adjustments to see a path that, makes sense for you. And that retirement calculator is totally free. It's something you download. I'm not taking any of your financial information and putting it into some weird database somewhere. That's not happening. All you have to do is go to the link in the description below, download that retirement calculator, and play with it. The next most common question I think people have is how you should invest once you have a 401k. Contributing to a 401k is not the same as actually investing. And that brings up the difference between investments and accounts. So you can kind of think of your account. Your account is your 401k. And you can think of your account as a shopping cart. It is the thing that's holding all of your investments. What can go inside that shopping cart are things like index funds, cash, real estate investment trusts, stocks, bonds, ETFs, mutual funds. All of these are options for you to hold within your 401k. And when you set up your 401k, you're going to make some preliminary choices about what you want in your shopping basket. And what those investments are that you have to choose from are going to be determined by your employer. So they're going to give you a list of all the choices that you have to invest in. Now, it can be a little confusing to make that decision. So let's go through some basic principles about making that call. The first thing that you need to know when you're picking out a fund to invest in is what the fees are. The higher your fees, the less you're going to earn on that account. So you want to keep those fees as low as possible. This is the most important thing in terms of picking an account, is what are the fees? What is the percentage that you're getting charged on the money that you contribute to invest in that fund? The other thing to really keep in mind here is that while we would like to be able to research every fund and figure out, how they've been doing and if they're a good investment, unfortunately, past performance doesn't necessarily tell us how they're going to perform in the future. In fact, it is no guarantee of how they're going to perform in the future. And the reason that that is the case is that a lot of these things, like mutual funds, have a fund manager, and performance is often tied to the strength of that fund manager. And unless you're tracking who that fund manager is, and if the fund manager changes, which happens all the time, then you don't really know who's running that account, right? I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on this, but the big takeaway here is that you can't look at past performance to predict how well something's going to perform in the future. It's just not possible. Unfortunately, I do not have a crystal ball. If I did, I'd be a lot wealthier than I am right now. So to help you narrow these down a little bit, I'm going to share with you what I personally invest in. Personally, I love index funds, and I love them for a couple of reasons. First of all, let me tell you what an index fund is. An index fund is just a collection of the top performing stocks at any given time. It is not actively managed by a fund manager. So that factor that I was telling you about earlier, it doesn't apply to an index fund. And studies have shown that on average, they outperform most actively managed funds, which is that statistically, well-trained investment fund managers usually do not outperform index funds, which aren't managed at all. Index funds also have extremely low fees, so you don't have to worry about paying fees for, say, a fund manager who may or may not be doing a great job for the fund, right? The majority of your money is just going straight into your retirement account. So for those reasons, index funds are my favorite. They're simple, the fees are low, and they outperform statistically the majority of other investments. So I think index funds are a great choice, and a particularly great choice if you're just starting out with investing. Another great option might be a target date fund, and you can get a target date fund that is built on index funds. A target date fund essentially looks at your balance of risk, right? And it automatically calculates based on your age what your portfolio balance should be. So you kind of want a mix of stocks and bonds. Bonds are lower risk and lower yield. Stocks are higher risk and higher yield. So you'll most likely make more money with stocks, but your money will be a lot safer with bonds. And as you age, you want your stocks to go down and your bonds to go up because you want to retain that money that you have been spending your life, investing in. So a target date fund is basically you saying, my target date of retirement is 2025. And based on that, a target date fund automatically rebalances your investments on a regular basis to make sure they reflect when you're going to retire. Now, like I said before, you definitely want to make sure you're checking out what the fees are on those accounts. They are going to be higher than index funds, but they also are really low maintenance. You pretty much just set it and forget it. So those are two recommendations of what you could potentially invest in as a starting point when you're just learning about a 401k. Do your research though. It's just a suggestion of things you can look into. So if you take one lesson away from this, it's that no matter what, just keep investing. Start now, keep doing it. The earlier and more that you invest, the better your results are going to be. And if you want some help to figure out what your investment target should look like, or how much you should be contributing to get to your target, then just download my retirement calculator. Like I said, that's going to be in the description below. It's totally free, and you can just, download it and play with it on your computer. So what are your biggest struggles or fears about investing for your retirement? I would love to hear about them. We all have them. It's a little bit intimidating, especially when you're just starting out. So put them in the comments below. If you liked this video, please hit the like button. That really helps me out. So if this video provided value to you, I would so appreciate you hitting the like button. And if you loved the video, and if you like to know about different personal finance topics, then please subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when I post a new video. That's all I have for you for now. If you have any additional questions, feel free to put them in the comments below, and I'll take a look and answer as best I can. But otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.